Alright, wow, this is quite the crowd of speed paint here today, and we have speed paint over metallic silver primer. So these terrain pieces that I'm about to show you were primed using the Rust-Oleum 2X silver primer. That's a primer that I've used for a bunch of basically terrain, because I like to paint my terrain pretty cheap, and that's a pretty cheap primer. It's about $5 here in the US for a spray can of it at the local hardware store. I was curious how speed paint would do over it, and the answer is it does all right, but mostly this test is going to be for what does speed paint look over a metallic silver. In a previous episode of this channel, previous video, we put Sand Golem over silver, and it made a beautifully highlighted gold on this Space Marine. So all the gold on the Space Marine is just that speed paint over silver with no further shading or highlighting, and I think it turned out pretty nice. And so I thought, well, let's try every other speed paint. And so first, I want to mention the kind of sad case of Holy White. Holy White speed paint over metallic silver does pretty much nothing. I put it somewhere on one of these models and I couldn't find it, and I might have just painted over it. It didn't appreciably change the silver tone, and so it's not really something we're going to be putting over silver. On this first terrain piece, we do have several different of these speed paints. We'll start off over here with this purple, and so this is the Hive Dweller purple. Creates a nice metallic-y purple. I really like it. It's definitely got, some splotchiness to it, but it's a neat little metallic. It's not nearly as shiny as the metallic by itself, but none of these really are. Moving on, I did finally manage to get a bottle of Runic Grey. That was the last speed paint I was missing. I put it on the tire here, and it did just only slightly better than that Holy White. It kind of shaded it, but not much else. If you want to shade your metallic silver, maybe Runic Grey speed paint is the way to go. Moving on then to our Crusader Skin, we have that on this diamond plate panel, and I think that is giving a very nice kind of rusted effect. If you want this to look like it's gotten wet and water's pooled on it and rusted it, we've got a neat effect there for sure. Next we have our Highlord Blue, and that's down on this bottom panel here. And you do see some of the speed paint on the other side of this grate has shown through, but if you look over here, you can see, Highlord Blue's got some good shading and highlighting. It's still pretty shiny silver through it. Maybe a neat little technique for like some power swords or something. Up above we have Magic Blue, and honestly, I don't see much of a difference. There's a little bit of one. There's not much of a difference. So watch for a future color compare between those two colors just in general. I am seeing less of a difference in them than I really thought I would. There's a little bit, but I don't know if it's enough. Here we have, on this end, we have Absolution Green, a nice dark green, and look what it's really done with this metal. It has covered over it very nicely. It's still shiny, but it's definitely kind of a metallic green. It's sunk into those recesses real well. I really like that effect and how that turned out. On the other side of this terrain piece, we have a couple of things. We have orange that's actually on another piece, so we're going to focus on that when we get to that piece. But over here we have this Malignant Green. That just kind of looks like you spilled something disgusting on your metal. I don't know, maybe you can find a cool use for that with some like poisoned daggers or something, I don't know. Here we have Purple Alchemy. I really like how it just kind of created this natural worn look. I didn't do anything special to do that. I brushed it on and just let it do its thing, and it looks kind of worn off. That's pretty fun with the Purple Alchemy. I wonder if other speed paint would do it on this kind of, rigid, like corrugated sheet metal tin roof. Tin roofing is kind of what you got there. So that's those two colors there. So that's our first terrain piece. I'm going to move this terrain piece off to the side and move the colors that went with it also off to the side so we can focus on our next piece. And here we have our next piece. We're going to go over this direction first. I went with a start of the classic yellow on the servo hauler hull there, the wrecked servo hauler. So there's some Zealot Yellow on there. And it does not look like it's painted yellow. It looks like more of a gold color. So I will use that for more of a gold, a very bright shiny gold. I kind of like the, what was that? The sand golem better for an actual shaded gold. If you want a really shiny gold, maybe try that. Over on this red tank here, we do have Slaughter Red. This covered over similar to that dark green on the other one. Really like how that covered over that. Makes it look shiny and metallic, but also like it could have some paint on it, you know. So that's not too bad there. Look at the Slaughter Red. This little blue tank here and this blue tank back here are the Cloudburst Blue. And so that's a nice dark blue. Definitely different from the previous blues. Given some good definition there. I really like how that's gone. Again, nice coverage. These darker colors are covering really well over that. Dark wood will do next because dark wood is only in this middle area. Wanted to see if I could do kind of like greasy engine with it, and it did kind of make almost like a bronze or brass color. So I'm really happy with that. It's like a clean bronze or a clean brass. Really happy with how that turned out, but it's not a maybe oily engine effect. My favorite for rust is actually this Hardened Leather. So I did like the Crusader Skin for rust, but this Hardened Leather, just to make this look like rusty junk, works pretty well. So overall, this terrain piece, well, let me do the other two colors first. I'll give you my overall here. Camo Cloak on this hatch here. Not too bad, right? It's doing a little bit of a green. It has the natural splotching on there, just where it this primer is a little bit glossy, and so this flows pretty good on it. Got a little bit of that rust kind of coming down from there too. So it's kind of a neat effect. Overall, I don't think the color's dark enough to make it look like painted metal, so it's kind of just a little weird. Gravelord Grey I put on this piece of this corrugated tin, and similar to the Runic Grey, it just kind of shades it. Maybe makes it look a little more dirty or a little older and worn than that. So overall, this terrain piece, I mean, you could put this out on the table, it's great. I would paint the servo hauler hull something else, and I'd probably use something different for the engine inside and this hatch. Otherwise, this is a pretty good terrain piece, and I might just keep it like this. My plan actually was to rinse these off in water and take advantage of the reactivation, see if I can get most of the paint off, and then paint them something different. But that piece I might keep. We'll see. We'll see what I end up doing with it. I have a bunch of this terrain from Octarius, and then I collected some Orc terrain before that, so I have several of all these same pieces just kind of laying around. Alright, let's look at this, and this we got the good old oily, dingy engine effect, and I did that here with Grim Black. So this engine piece here is all this grim black, and it just looks like an old oily gunky mess. It's not rusted because the oil would have protected it. Tried to see if I could get like some shiny tire thing going on here, and nope, this is not the shiny tire effect that you're looking for. Plasmatic Bolt, a really cool metallic color, did it on the toolbox here. Not great for a toolbox, but would be really awesome for a power sword, so I would absolutely use that on a power sword. Pallid Bone I tried in kind of this area here, and also on the Eagle to try to give another kind of either rust effect or metallic-y effect. I'm not as much of a fan of this one as the others. We got Blood Red here on the container. Use Slaughter Red. Blood Red is not covering this as well as I'd want. Yeah, I made some oopsies there, but whatever. So, it covers it. This would be better if you wanted, like, Power Sword in red. Oh, absolutely. I would use it for that. I would not use it for anything that's supposed to look like painted metal. Orc Skin here we have on this crate. That does look pretty cool as this green metallic. However, I think the Absolution Green was the better choice if you want, painted metal metallic-y kind of stuff there. And then finally we have our Fire Giant Orange on this big piece of debris here. And it looks pretty okay. It's nice orange metallic. If you want to do orange metallic, it doesn't really quite look like a copper. Maybe a little bit if you... I don't know. You tell me if that looks like a copper or not. Maybe not this area here. I don't know if some red got on there or what. But that's another spot I use that red. So, I don't know. I don't think it's quite coppery enough, though. If you did like a bell in it, I don't know if anybody would blink twice at that. So that's all of our speed paint over metallic. I hope that this was interesting or useful. If you're trying to put some speed paint over some metallic, now you know what to expect. And that's one of the goals of this channel is, experimentation is fun. If you want to get models just out on the table, you want to know what to expect, you want to grab the right paint first, like if you're doing an oily engine or something, for example, now you know what that is. Or you don't want to experiment around with all the rust and you just want to go with one of the rusty colors that we used, you just know what to do. And so that's hopefully something that helped you out, getting your miniatures painted on the table and you to get some gaming in. I'm looking forward to getting some gaming in here soon as well. Alright folks, well, thanks for watching. Take care. Let's get gaming.